Thank you very much. We want to welcome you to another interesting and fascinating conversations around faith, and that what a day that the Lord has made. We want to use this opportunity to say a big thank you to all of our friends who are partnering with us to continue this ministry of Jesus Christ. We want to welcome you to another interesting and fascinating edition of Sunday Talk. We talk about a wide range of issues and conversations around faith, and what a privilege it is that we can be here again. This is the fifth edition of Sunday Talk. We are globally engaged on television in Liberia, the Liberian capital of Monrovia, with Hemenetz TV and Power FM, both radio and TV, throughout the length and breadth of the Republic of Liberia. But we are also on several streaming platforms in the United States, StreamYard, the Christian Vision Broadcasting Network, and of course, Facebook as well. Let me welcome you, brothers and sisters. I'm your regular presenter, Zeze Gwipogi-Pat. I'm here all the time, engaging with scholars, pastors, pastoral leaders, people of not only the United Methodist Church, although the conversation today is going to be centered around issues of faith, a conversation of a faith journey, and also within the Methodist tradition, the happenings. But we are bringing a great colleague of ours. I will call this a reunion, probably after quite a considerable time. The United Methodist Church in the New Jersey Annual Conference is indeed a part of the global framework of Methodism in general. And what a privilege it is to have with me the pastor of the United Methodist Church of New City. Don't get a little confused, it's in New York, but my understanding is indeed is a part of the New Jersey Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. Let me welcome my distinguished guest, Amanda Hemenetz. She is going to pronounce her name well, but she, in fact, just completed her doctoral status at Drew University. We've known each other for quite some time. We go way back. Drew, a great friend of ours. And let me welcome you, Doc, and congratulations from the recent class at Drew. And New Jersey is quite a lovely place. I remember many years in seminary. You were one of those students, quite open, quite receptive. We come a long way. Welcome to the show. Introduce yourself and talk about a little about the church that you are serving at the moment, and just give us some clarity on the geographical location for those who are watching us globally to have a better understanding. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Zeze. I am the Reverend, just became Dr. Amanda Hemenetz, and I am in the United Methodist Church of New City, which is in New York State. It's in the southern part of New York State, not in New York City. We are part of the Greater New Jersey Annual Conference, though. New Jersey has a handful of churches, about 10, in the state of New York, and we are one of them, which gets a little confusing, yes. Yeah.
That's right. And to begin with, as we start this conversation around faith matters, Amanda, let's look at where this whole process started. the issue around faith, your own faith journey. How did it begin? Talk to us about those early formative years as we begin this conversation.
So I would be what's called a cradle Methodist. I'm
Okay.
involved in the Methodist church. My mother started taking me to church probably when I was about 2.
Okay.
She wanted her children to grow up in the church, and it was just me and my brother. My brother's a year younger. And for me, church stuck. Church was important. It was something I loved. I loved Sunday school. I loved worship. I loved talking about God. I loved spending time with God. As a kid, I used to go on walks with Jesus, as I would call them, and just walk around town and have conversations with God. It was a strange thing for a kid to do to a certain extent. But Jesus was my best friend growing up. That just never changed. So church was extremely important to me. I remember I was in high school and I was in the marching band. I used to get very upset when our competitions were on Sunday morning, and I had to choose the marching band competition. And I decided that it was okay, that I was not in church because I was making people smile while I was at the marching band. These are the kinds of thoughts that went through my head as a teenager and as a child. And church was just something I loved. I loved it. I loved faith. I loved talking about the love of God. I looked at the world as something that was created by God as a gift for us, and I still see it that way.
That's right.
Just all for me. Yeah.
Okay. And I could see that at seminary, just how profound the spirituality that's, you would find in others, and even if they sometimes don't see it, but you can see from that divine standpoint when you engage with students, and just how cool and kind you were, and how meditative, or how you responded to issues from time to time when we were involved in classes or even activities on campus at seminary. So what, within the context of the New City area, the church in which you pastor at the moment, how is ministry, COVID, the challenges, the difficulties that pastors have encountered over the past 2.5 years? It's been quite almost going to 3 years, quite a challenging environment for ordinary folks, but even those of us who are involved in the aspect of that spiritual care, engaging with ordinary folks, people who come for prayer, people who have questions, perennial questions about faith they want to talk about, in the midst of the lack of movement of people because of COVID. What has it been for you? If I ask the question, how is it with your soul, Pastor?
So I moved to the New City Church just 2 years ago,
Okay.
during the height of COVID at the beginning, which was very difficult. So everything was closed. When there was nothing open, we couldn't even get our new driver's license or anything. It was very, very difficult. And trying to figure out how to meet new people, how to figure out even what ministry looks like here was very. What ended up happening is that I opened up my porch at the parsonage, and I told people to be there. And I did a lot of one-on-one conversations with people from the church, and found out what the church was like and what they were used to doing, what they thought they did well, and what they thought needed to change. And I had that same conversation with many different people, and then compiled those answers and brought them back to the church in general and said, look, this is where you are. This is what you want to change. This is what you want to work on. And that's what we've been working on since then. And it has worked very well. We've gotten a lot of people back to worship. We have about half in worship and half online. We do hybrid worship, which is in person and on Zoom at the same time.
Okay.
We have people participate from home on Zoom while worship is happening in the sanctuary. And that actually works very well here. So
yeah, that's quite an interesting phenomena you're talking to me about. I think you probably have taken it to the highest level. We are doing online worship, but it's slightly different from you engaging, meaning people from home can be able to be participants into the live service. That is quite fascinating. I think it's something probably I will have to borrow and see whether we can do some experimentation in that aspect.
Much research on it or anything, because the specialists will tell you not to do that. They will tell you to do your in-person service and live stream it and just let people watch. We do more than that. We let people participate from home, which is tricky. It's tricky, but
no, it is. Yeah, that's pretty tricky. But I think those experiences now you have had, you can be able to tap into that and say, well, this works better. This doesn't. We've tried this. This is working, and this that. New Jersey Annual Conference. Pastor, the ministry you are involved with in the New City area. I remember visiting many years ago when we were at seminary. Mountaineers, are you still within the region of that part of New Jersey, or are you a little farther away from your previous area?
A little farther north, so not completely anymore.
Okay, meaning you're a little further north into New Jersey. In terms of missions, let's talk a little about that. In this environment in which you are involved with, are you doing any mission activities in your area?
So what we started doing last year and then continued it this year, we've come up with a monthly mission project at the New City Church. So every month we support something different, and it could be something very close to home, like our food pantry, or collected socks for the homeless one month, or things like that. Or it could be things very far away. So we've raised money to buy new people in China, and we've done all different kinds of. But every month we do something different. So the church has really enjoyed that. It's reached many different kinds of people. And since the projects keep changing, we get different types of people involved in it. So it's really worked well. Most of the things we've done this year and last year have all been financial gifts, because we can't really go out and work with people because of COVID, but we're hoping to expand into hand ministry as this pandemic calms down a little.
Yeah. Let's look from a theological perspective now. Let's expand it later. The state of the church. Those of us who are pastors within the United Methodist Church, the conversations around whether it's disaffiliation, general conference in 2024, we are in an unprecedented environment, a territory that we haven't found ourselves in for quite some time. Maybe we could go back to 1968. What is it like in the New Jersey area for you as a local pastor? What are those debates, especially the conversation, the elephant in the room concerning Methodism in particular, and in the midst of all of the conversations that we are having at the moment as to the way forward when we get to 2024. A lot of unanswered questions within the context theologically as to where we are headed, what the General Conference is going to produce, what would be those key decisions eventually, things that probably we do not know about now that we cannot conclusively say, oh, okay, this is what 2024 General Conference is going to bring. Those difficult conversations around the faith and as to the way forward come 2024. Within the your particular area, within the New Jersey area and your local church in particular, what are some of those conversations?
So the New Jersey area and the New York area, both, I would say, are much more toward the more inclusive side of things when it comes to those of differing sexualities and all of that. However, it's also mixed. So there are a number of churches, especially in New Jersey, that have said that they are leaving. That hasn't all been figured out yet exactly how it's going to happen, but they say that they're going. So, so it is happening, you know, and there are conversations that are happening around it. My church in particular voted to be reconciling last year, which means that we are fully open to everyone. And we treat everyone the same and want everyone to be involved in ministry in our church to the full extent. So we know where we are. What scares me are the churches that haven't had the conversation. Because they're being faced with these things going on around them, but there's a lot of pastors who are afraid to talk about it. And they haven't had this conversation with their congregation. So when they have to make decisions, how are they going to do that? You know, I am very much of a full inclusion mindset. I know what's in scripture and I know what tradition has said. I also know that science has taken us in a different direction over the past 20 years or so. And I believe that God gave us science as well as scripture. So we need to play with those things and see where we are today. And I think God is in a mindset of love and grace and acceptance today. So I'm going with that, but there's a lot who aren't, and that's okay. I understand the difference. I understand why people think different things, and that's fine. I wish we could find a way to work together. It doesn't.
And that's the key question, is it? Finding a way to work together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
it seems difficult.
Yeah, I mean, even the reality of the matter that even from seminary that we are, you know, we all had different worldviews in terms of, and that has to do with orientation, that a traditionalist like me, you know, can be in a conversation with a person who is probably more progressive, but trying to find that common ground and ensuring that the message and the gospel of Christ is preached. Yeah. That we can continue to engage people and tell them about the good news of Jesus Christ. I don't know whether a general conference will bring us to that reconciliatory framework, or we will practically say, well, let's continue to just operate within the social context of our own location geographically. But it's quite a very complex situation.
It is, and I look at it, there's so much more common ground than there is differences.
That's right.
So much more. There's so much more that we have in common. And there's so much more that we could do together than on our own. And Jesus, he said, let us all be one. You know, that was his prayer for everybody. I don't think that means that we all have to agree with each other. But it means that we need to work together with the same goal in mind, you know, and our goal is the same, to love God, to love each other, and to move this world in a better direction. We all agree with that. Nobody's
I don't think we don't have. Well, you know, I've always said to my brothers and sisters, to people that I engage with, prayer is something that we need in this conversation. We need an engagement with the Holy Spirit the advocate, to be able to give us a path that when we get to that point of the conversation, prior to General Conference that you said, I think it's important that we can be able to bring some level of engagement with all of our churches, that they can be able to make an informed decision, that it's not something that is just coming out of emotionality or responding to it because, okay, this is just how we see it, when we don't have all of the answers for what 2024 is going to be like. But we want to be in prayer. I think that is important, that when we have this conversation around some of the challenges that we are facing as a church and as a global body, that we get to that point that whenever that particular meeting takes place in 2024, that there can be some resolution around this. You say, some of the churches are finding it quite difficult to even have the conversation. Pastors are finding it difficult to have the conversation. And I think people need to be able to educate, create the framework that people can have an understanding. Oh, okay, this is what, the church plan is, whether it's going to be plan A or, this is the pathway towards creating that environment that we be able to know, okay, if we go this way, this is how it's going to be. But it's also challenging because we don't know what eventually, whether it's going to be the Judicial Council or what eventually General Conference decides when the global body meets in 2024. Yeah. So let's continue to remain in prayer and keep an open mind and have those conversations that we need to have, ensuring that the commonality of the issues and what theologically we agree on, that we can continue to create some level of understanding in making sure that we work in that cooperative spirit to continue to do the work of the church. I think that is quite crucial and it's quite important. We may not be able to agree on everything, because even prior to 1968, we did not theologically agree on everything, did we?
No.
Yeah,
and we never will. We never will, and that's okay. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Those of you joining us, I'm in conversation with a great friend and an alumni of Drew Theological Seminary, all the way there from the Forest, Madison, New Jersey. Reverend Dr. Amanda Hemenetz. We come a long way, and we are having conversations around issues of faith today. If you just joined us, we want to welcome you to the broadcast. Our hope and prayer is that we can be able to bring our doctor back again to continue this conversation for those of you around the world, so that it's quite important that we can be able to get some clarity. It's also educational that we come here, we talk about faith matters, to bring some clarity to some of the challenging perennial issues that we have as a church, as a community of faith, and as we discern, okay, what is the future of the United Methodist Church? We've gone past 50 years since we came in this collaboration. What the next 50 or 10 years going to be? Is the church going to be the same, or the church is going to take a trend towards an environment in which God will want us to be, to grow, to look at nuances and continue to do the work of the church? And I don't think we can do that exclusively without a spiritual intervention. That's how I see it. And I think when we have these conversations, this is why we always bring in scholars, teachers, pastors, local people within our faith, within our local area, those on the national level in the United States. And the power of technology is something that is quite not only intriguing, but it's quite not only accommodative, but it has created an environment in which that we can engage with people from different parts of not only the United States, as we're doing today. I'm all the way up here in Western Pennsylvania. Dr. Amanda is all the way up there in New Jersey. I was just telling her off the record, maybe we need to find a way to have a reunion, and then we'll figure out the distance between Western PA, New Jersey, what will be the middle ground that we can be able to meet for coffee. Talk to me, someone who is watching, someone listening to us today, Dr. Amanda, that do not have any concept. They haven't had any encounter with Jesus. They haven't had an encounter with the church. You have had quite a long encounter. You have told us stories that are quite intriguing from those early formative years. Someone who is broken, someone who doesn't know what tomorrow is going to bring, someone coming in contact with this conversation. Through this live stream, through this television engagement, through this conversation by podcast and by radio. What do you say to them? Who is Jesus to Dr. Amanda? What are some of those experiences you have had personally that you care to share?
From my perspective, whatever we're going through, be that good or bad or in between, Jesus is always holding our hand. And I think that's true, regardless of whether you're a Christian or not. So to let someone know who doesn't think they know Jesus, that Jesus has been walking with you anyway, and Jesus is holding your hand and trying to help you get through the things of life. And if you're able to see that and experience that more fully by paying attention, life seems so much better. It seems so much easier to handle. And you're able to look back and go, yes, God brought me through that, and God brought me through this, and God is going to bring me through whatever is coming. Jesus is our constant companion. And to acknowledge that and get to know him better, it just makes you happy. It makes you happy. So there's so much joy to be found in Jesus. And I think joy is something that's really lacking in a lot of people's lives. And if we can find that for us and for everyone, the world would be different. We would treat each other differently. We would see joy in each other and in the world around us. And we would want to love. We would want to love each other. We would want to love God, and we would treat each other and this planet so much better. So that would be my first message, is that Jesus is already with you. And he's just waiting to be acknowledged and to be loved back. And that there's so much you can gain from that relationship.
Yeah, that is quite profound, Dr. Amanda. It's been quite a privilege to have you with us, to share with us these secret moments that we've had together over just a little while here today. We want to thank you for this opportunity that you've given to us in the midst of the very tight schedule that you have. My hope and my prayer is that we continue this conversation. And those of you watching us, we want to thank you for being a part of this particular production. The fifth edition of Sunday Talk. We've had with us Dr. Amanda Hemenetz. She happens to be the pastor of the United Methodist Church of New City. It's in New York, but it's a part of the Greater New Jersey Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. Let me get a closing statement from you, Dr. Amanda, and as we wrap up this all-important production, we want to thank you so much for coming today, and we're hoping to engage with you again in a not too distant future. But closing remarks.
Thank you for having me so much. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing today, just know that you're loved. That would be my closing statement, because that to me is the most important thing in this world, is to know that you're loved by God, by me, by many. So thank you so much for having me today.
And on that note, we want to wrap up this particular edition of Sunday Talk. We want to thank you. We have with us Reverend Dr. Amanda Hemenetz. She's the pastor at United Methodist Church of New City in New York, the Greater New Jersey Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. A great friend of ours. We could come a long way. We just want to thank you for being a part of this particular production. Those of you in Liberia, we thank you for the opportunity that you've given to us to partner in ministry with you, to always be here on Sunday Talk through the courtesy of the Christian Vision Broadcasting Network and Power TV in the Liberian capital, Monrovia. We'll be back again with another interesting, fascinating conversation around faith. My friend, my dear sister, Reverend Dr. Amanda Hemenetz, it's been great having you, and well, thank you for taking, you have a very quite busy schedule, but it's been great having you, and I'm looking forward again to engaging with you soon. What a privilege it's been. Thank you so much for coming.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much, they say.
Yeah. And to all of you out there, we want to thank you so much for being a part of this particular production. We'll be back again another time for Sunday Talk. It's been a privilege, and we want to get feedback from you. You can just go into the comments column. If you have questions, inquiries, comments, views, please send them to us. We are quite open to get a feedback from you around the world, in Liberia in particular. I want to thank you so much for today. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you again. And to my dear colleague all the way there in New Jersey, have a great day and a great week. Bye-bye.
You too.